See how good this one works. What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr Games, and today I'm bringing you Elliot's Pure Amazement profile. Now obviously, Amazement's are a brand new deck that came out in Lightning Overdrive. It consists of basically a higher level, shinier multi-faker, and it revolves around a lot of traps that have different effects depending on if they're equipped to your monsters or your opponent's monsters. So what I'm going to take you through his Pure profile. We're probably going to learn together as we go, because this is a completely new concept to me. The extra deck is a little bit irrelevant, but I'll also show you that at the end as well. So we start off with, of course, the main core card, which is the Amazement Administrator. So this, is, of course, is the secret rare in the set. They're going at around between £10 to £15. Some are breaching a little bit at £20, but it really comes down to if this deck gets further support, will it go up in price? If it doesn't, they'll probably float around that price and kind of stay down because they're not meta dependent, but they can be used as a very, very cool engine. And in my opinion, one of the best cards, if not the best card, is the time ticket that we'll get onto in a little bit while as well. So it is a psychic, and once per turn you can banish any number of attraction traps from your graveyard, then target that many cards your opponent controls. Destroy them. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. If a trap card is activated except during a damage state, you can special on this card from your hand, and if your opponent normal or specials on monster or monsters except during a damage state, you get to target one of those face-up monsters they control, and you get to equip an attraction trap from your deck to that target. Now, just as a little preview, the attraction traps have different effects. So if they're equipped to your opponent's monsters, you can change it basically face down defense position, so like a Book of Moon. The other one lets you add an Amazement monster from your deck to your hand. And then the final one, as long as that opponent's monster is equipped with an attraction trap already, you basically get to take control of it. But we'll get onto those a little bit later. The other monster is the Ultra, which is the Amazement Attendant. So again, this card sits around £3 to £4, like all the Ultras from this set kind of are. It is a machine, but sadly it doesn't fit within machine dupe areas. But when it is normal summon specifically, annoying, I know, you get to set an attraction trap directly from your deck, and then you've got a quick effect. Target one of your attraction traps equipped to a monster and equipped it to one Amazement monster you control or one face-on monster your opponent controls. Now, obviously what makes that so good is, like I said, the attraction traps give you effects depending on whose monsters they're attached to. So if you then switch the attachment to another one, you get the other effect. So it's all about bouncing the effects around. I'm hoping that they're going to get another monster. Now they do have like a bear, which is a common in the set, but it's not really dependent on being played. Now you can do it, you can also play the field spell, but this one's kind of gone for an Amazement with hand trap and traps kind of control. Speaking of the hand traps, of course, these can be anything you want, but he's kind of gone with Ghost Bells and Ash Blossoms. Now, obviously, one thing I did mention was that this deck, just looking at it on the base, it auto loses to Dragoon, which most decks do. With that in mind, something like a Veiler might be a little bit better, or just to kind of stop that Verte going off. But then if they open up Red Eyes Fusion, you don't have an Ash, you're always going to be in a bit of trouble. Then for the spells, now this card is absolutely nuts. If this card was in a better deck, like, it's definitely a future ban card. Now what I mean by that is, you pay 800 life points. It's a quick effect. Pay 800 life points, and then depending on whose turn it is, you get an additional effect. So if it's your turn, you get to add an Amazement card from your deck to your hand. So it's kind of like Cleethorp's Scout. And then if it's your opponent's turn, you get to set an attraction trap directly from your deck. Now, if that wasn't good enough, you can activate that trap that turn. So literally, can you just imagine if it was like any other deck that was like set your own archetype trap? So Dogmatic set punishment and you can activate it that turn. Like, it would just be nuts. Because the deck doesn't rely on the extra deck, you can play triple Extrav, you can play triple Extrav, you can play triple Prosperity, anything like that, and kind of move from there. Then, of course, as you can see by this fat stack here, we are playing a lot of traps. So we are playing triple Amazement Attraction Horror House. Now, as you can see, this is based off of the Ghost Tricks, with the Ghost Tricks in the background. And I'll also try and figure out the other ones that are attached to it as well, because there are some very, very nice little... it is basically a Yu-Gi-Oh theme park, which was pretty awesome. So Attraction Horror House is probably the best one, and you target one Amazement monster or you control or face-up monster your opponent controls and equip this card to it. You target one effect. If it's your monster, you get to target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. If it's your opponent's monster, you get to change it to face down defense position, so Book of Moon or a bit of an imperm. There's also a nice little thing, if you can see, if the camera, you've got Alucard in the background there, which I think is really kind of cool. I love the detail on these. It looks really cool. Then onto the other trap, we've got the Amazement Attraction Cyclo Coaster. So this one is obviously Winged Dragon of Ra based, or the Fire Phoenix kind of roller coaster. And this one you get to target an Amazement monster you control or a face-on monster your opponent controls. If it's the one you control, you get to target a spell or trap your opponent controls and send both it and this card to the graveyard. If it's your opponent's monster, you get to add an attraction monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send this card to the graveyard. So obviously the attraction horror floats around, whereas the coaster doesn't. Then for the last of the traps, for the Amazement specifically, we've got the 1 Amazement Family Faces and the 1 Amazement Attraction Majestic Merry-Go-Round. So the Family Faces, you target a monster your opponent controls equipped with an attraction trap already, and then you get to equip this card to it. While this card is equipped to that monster, you get to take control of the equipped monster. While you control the equipped monster, it gains 500 attack, but you can't activate its effects, and it's treated as an Amazement monster. So it's kind of cool, because if you've attached it with a coaster, or you attach it with a horror house, you'll then get the effects off of that as well. So it's only at 1 because you need to have them attached with another one already. Now, the Amazement Merry-Go-Round, what I really like about this is if you actually look really, really closely, these are the 6 Samurai Sigils. So I'm 99% sure, and obviously on the floor and the different colours in the background, that this is either, I'm pretty sure this is like the 6 Sam field spell. I can't remember what the exact name of it is off the top of my head, but it's kind of cool that it's got different iterations for other decks. So the merry-go-round is you target an amazement monster you control or a face-on monster your opponent controls, equip it to it, and then apply the following effects. If it's yours, your monster gains 500 attack, and if it would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can send this card instead. If it's your opponent's, the equipped monster loses 500 attack for each of your attraction traps equipped to a monster. So obviously it starts reducing its attack, makes it easier to deal with. But again, unlike Dragoon, because it can't be targeted, you can't equip to it. Then for the generic traps, we've got triple dogmatical punishment. You don't go into the extra deck, you don't need to worry about it. Obviously the only risk is if you banish everything off of extravagance, but that's where you can probably put in 5-headed dragon just to make sure that you can get over any monster with punishment. You've got triple elder entity ints. You've also got stuff like the Ignista Pegasus. You've got the fossil fusion as well. So you just kind of fill it up your extra deck with that. Triple Imperm, because obviously activating a trap turn 0, exactly like Multi-Faker, you'll trigger the Administrator, so which gives you a boss on board already, just from playing Imperm. Triple Strikes, again, I'm pretty sure that the Administrator works like Multi-Faker, that it activates after the resolution of a trap card. So you activate Strike, you negate something, then you can activate Administrator. A last minute change, we put in Crackdown as well. I just like the idea that if you want to try and access more of your extra deck, Crackdown's a really good card because you get to steal one of your opponent's monsters, you're activating a trap card so you can bring down the Administrator, but then it just gives you that ability to link climb a little bit more consistently, and I think Crackdown's a really nice kind of card that not a lot of people expect, and when it happens, not only are you stealing that opponent's monster, but you also technically negate its effects as well, in a sense. Because obviously, as the chain resolves backwards, you take control of it, and then while you control that monster, you can't attack or activate its effects. So it's kind of nice that way. And then the final one is Torrential Tribute, because again, if your opponent summons a lot and you just go, right, cool, TT, or even if you have a TT set, and then in a later stage you normal summon your Attendant, you can then activate the TT, get the effect off the Attendant when you need it, activate the TT, nuke the board, and then if you've got the Administrator in hand, because you've activated a trap, you special summon down the Administrator, and you've basically just upgraded your Comica into your Alenko. And that's it for the main deck. So obviously, very trap heavy, that's basically what the deck is. So when we move on to the extra deck really has very little relevance in the sense that basically with triple Elder Entity Ints, this is all going to be coming off of the back of your punishment. You've got your BLS, Soldier of Chaos, purely because your Alenko is a 7, so when you get your your Administrator plus maybe a Crackdown target and then your your Attendant, you've got BLS, and BLS is a very powerful link monster to kind of deal with. And then you've just got generic toolbox stuff, so your IP Masquerena, your Unicorn, your Phoenix, your Cerberus, and then obviously off of punishment, you've got your Pegasus, you've got your Omega, Nova, should you be facing against Dogmaticas, Appaloosa just for the chance of getting into it, Macabre obviously off of the Maximus to get into Macabre, and then of course Fossil Warrior to come off the back of your punishment, and then a Boral Sword. Again, this kind of comes off the back of using a Crackdown to steal your opponent's monster. Ultimately, all of this stuff here, in my opinion, except the Skull Knight, is pretty much just down to personal preference. I would honestly try and max out on all of the stuff you're going to use for punishment, because you're playing Extravagance. So the Extravagance, you want to make sure you don't obviously banish all of your Elder Entity Ints. But if you do, you want to have your Skull Knights as backup. You want to have your Ignisters at backup, and then you want your Omega to then be able to kind of recycle your graveyard as well. Other than that, the extra day is pretty much free and open to put in whatever you want. And it depends if you're playing the pure version or not. If you're not playing the pure version, then stuff like Extravagance comes out. You lower your trap count as well. You kind of go with stuff like Eldritch. You kind of go with stuff like Trap Tricks as well. And it gives you a bit of variety depending on what one you want to use. Anyway, that is it for a short, sweet, simple, pure administrator profile. I think right now, as soon as the Arenlenkos drop to like 10 quid, that's when you want to pick them up if you're interested in this type of deck. The Coaster and the Horror Houses, like I said, are about £3 each, so you can probably pick up play sets for £10, maybe a little bit less, alongside with the Administrator as well. Not Administrator, sorry, the Attendant, and then you've pretty much got everything you need. So kind of go from there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Until next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.